Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Inspire Before We Expire show. I am your host, Terrell Sumter. Guys, I'm very grateful, thankful, and graceful to see another day that's never a promise. Ladies and gentlemen, as we start this show, I just want you to take some time to close your eyes, 10 to 15 seconds. And I want you to visualize, where do you see yourself in the next 2 months, guys? As we approach this new year, 2020, guys, it's time for new beginnings, guys. It's time to rise above the circumstances. It's a time to put everything behind you that was just slowing you down during your journey and continue to put yourself in places where you're going to grow. Surround yourself around those that's going to help lift you higher. It's time to now take some time to look at it and know that everything around you is a blessing, that you are blessed, that you are grateful, that you are loved, that you matter, and that no matter where you may be, there's always room to grow, guys. And if you haven't already, I just want you to subscribe to the Inspire Before We Expire show. Ladies and gentlemen, oh man, I have a very, very special guest on the show today. Oh man, this gentleman and I have been connected back and forth messages through time, just keeping that positive energy going. And we finally sat some time out to knock this interview out. And I'm proud to have him today. Man, this gentleman is a father first, husband first, is the founder, co-founder of, and chief operating officer at Influencive, and a writer at Forbes and Thrive Global. He's a two-time GTO entrepreneur representing Canada and advisor to several businesses and entrepreneurs. Guys, coming out of Canada, this gentleman. Listen, I want to introduce you to my guy, Mr. Clinton Senkow. Clint, how's it going today, man?
It's going good, man. Thanks so much for having me on the show. Appreciate it. Yeah, as you said in the intro, I really appreciate that. We've been going back and forth for a while, so it's great to finally be able to meet and get this on the schedule.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for taking some time out your busy schedule to be here and be present today, man.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, so I know it's your first time on the show, Clint. I just wanted you to really just dive us into your personal life, where your journey first started, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Honestly, I'm from Canada, as you said. So I grew up a high-level hockey player my whole life. I'm the youngest of five kids in my family, so I come from a very big family. I have a lot of older brothers, three older brothers, an older sister, and yeah, it was just a really busy household. And I was someone that when I played hockey, I always knew that there was more that I wanted to do. And but obviously when I was younger and playing hockey at a high level, it was always the dream to go play pro and play in the NHL one day. And I have many friends and teammates and stuff that are in the NHL or playing pro around the world and stuff, which is amazing. And where I am today, I dedicate a lot to that, to playing hockey and what I was able to do with the teams I played with and the people that I became friends with and people that I learned from, whether it's coaches or other teammates. And so just playing high level sports, I just kind of translated that into getting involved with entrepreneurship. I got started in the tech and startup scene in Canada when I was about 21. I played junior A hockey across Canada for 3 years after high school. Lived in about 4 different provinces, got traded a lot. And yeah, that was a really cool learning experience, just living in different places and living with different people and traveling different places. And from that, I just parlayed it into really being able to focus on something else and see what happens after the game and after I'm done playing hockey. And so really, I always was fascinated by tech and startups and just starting my own business or being involved in a business at an early stage. So I started working in a few different startups and in sales and marketing type roles and business development and partnership style stuff. And then one thing led to another, and I was at different companies for different amounts of times, whether it was some companies for 3-4 months, some were for about a year. And then it just kind of parlayed into me becoming a writer somehow. I was always someone that I actually, your show is all about inspiration, and something that I like to share with people is I grew up a high level hockey player, classified, maybe as a jock, someone that was always good at sports, and I love sports, and that was just always kind of my focus. And I had a 51 in English 30, which you could have never paid me money to write an essay or a paper or anything. I was not a very good writer at all. I was always a good speller, but my sentence structure, grammar, all that stuff was just never very good. And so it wasn't until I was in college where I started getting better marks on some of my on some of my papers and some of my essays. Started getting a little bit of confidence, and then I actually came across a couple essay contests on Twitter, believe it or not, and I entered a few of them. And I won them. I was selected as some of the students that got to go to these conferences and meet these business professionals and people, and all-inclusive paid and all this stuff. And then I just kind of started getting more confidence again. It just started getting better marks and winning the essay contests, and started having more confidence in myself, and started writing more. And I actually originally started off writing online about hockey, believe it or not, because that was just really what I knew best. And still to this day, I have so much knowledge and experience when it comes to hockey, because I spent so much time and effort and energy, in the game. But then I knew that it was time to kind of turn the page and focus on something different. And I knew that kind of the next page for me was entrepreneurship and business. And so that's when I started surrounding myself with the right people and learning about business and learning about entrepreneurship. And I went to school, I went to college and got a business degree as well. So it wasn't just like, it was just something randomly I wanted to do. So I went to school and did the whole business route. And then I just started writing, and one thing led to another. Started writing for the Huffington Post and Startup Grind, and then Brian and I met, which is our founder, CEO, my partner in Influencive, and we started the site in 2016, is what we like to say, about January 2016. And then ever since then, things have just kind of really taken off and led to this and that. And where we are today is we have over 500 writers from around the world. We get a couple million page views to the site per month. I've been able to connect with amazing entrepreneurs and innovators and celebrities and influencers from all over the world, and worked with some really great brands on some great campaigns. And we've really created a hub for whether you're an entrepreneur yourself or whether you're aspiring to be an entrepreneur. People come to Influencive to learn about business, how to start a business, maybe how to grow your business through Facebook, or, how to use influencer marketing better, or how to, start speaking on stages. There's so many different things and areas that Influencive can really teach you and educate you on. So hopefully that provides you a little bit of aspect into my story of, I started as an athlete, grew up in a large family. It just translated into being focused in tech and startups and working at different companies, and then just starting my own stuff. And it's kind of led me to where I am today.
That's awesome, man. I love it. I wanted us to take back some time, man. Honestly, just take it a little back. As you being an athlete, and as you saying, you was a real dominant player with, hockey was your passion. That was it for you. You planned on going big leagues someday. So if you can remember exactly that moment, when did you say that, man, I want to take the time from being an athlete to now being an entrepreneur? When did the transition happen exactly for you?
Just so we know, just to provide some backstory. So when I take everything that I've learned from hockey and I parlay it into business. And it's kind of like, I have the same sort of mentality as I did in hockey as I do. So when I was a hockey player, I was always I was a grinder. I was not a goal scorer. I wasn't an offensive guy. I was always someone that was the hardest worker on the ice, hardest worker on the team. That's what I want to be known for. I'm someone that always would just do whatever he could to make sure that, I got the job done, or do it there was never lack of work ethic on my end. That was always who I was. But it was probably around my third year of college. So I was on a scholarship at college playing hockey as well for 4 years. And it was into my third year, my third season, where I kind of, it was actually where I also met my wife, that that's when I kind of realized in my life that, hockey's been such a huge point of everything for me, but I know there needs to be something else. I didn't really focus on my grades much in my first 2 years. I was just more focused on hockey and enjoying college life and all that. And it was my third year where I kind of said, you know what, like I want to actually put a little bit more effort in my classes, into school, just into myself. What is it that I want to get involved with, outside of hockey? And it just kind of led me down this path to getting involved in tech and getting involved in entrepreneurship and everything, startup related. And that's when I started kind of just investing in myself a little bit more. That's when I started, changing some of my habits. I didn't do it this early on. Can't remember exactly when it happened, but I don't think, like, don't get me wrong, I don't think video games are like bad for you and stuff. But I was someone, when you grew up playing sports and playing hockey, I love video games. It was always something I always played. It was always something that I continued to kind of just do in my off time and whatever. And, sometimes probably I played too much video games and I should have been focusing on other things. But one of the biggest kind of shifts that I also had kind of in my own personal development and skill development and just business in general was I actually sold my PlayStation 4 or PS, no, it was my PS3. It was my PlayStation 3 to my brother. I had a whole whack of games, I had a whole bunch of controller, like super cheap, like $50, $100 or something. I sold it to him. Reason being, and this was probably about 4, maybe 5 years ago now, I sold it to him because I knew that I needed to start changing my habits and focusing on different things. And what I started to do, the things that I started investing in was books. I started investing in books more. I have bookshelves of all the top books, and I love reading books. I love increasing my knowledge, how to grow, a better business, how to build a bigger business, how to be more purposeful, how to be healthier, whatever it is. And I sold my PlayStation because it wasn't that it was a bad thing. It was one of those temptations that I feel like we have, like in our life sometimes, that we kind of do, and we just resort to that. And I knew that I needed to get rid of it. And that was a huge shift for me. So I'd say those are the two things, is when I realized, hey, hockey is, kind of not the end all be all. I need to focus on something else. Was around my third year of college. And then also kind of like after that is when I was like, hey, I need to change my environment a little bit and get rid of things that, aren't necessarily like making me get to where I want to be in life. And that's when I got rid of my PlayStation. And then I started investing more in books and programs and just kind of surrounding myself with, self-development and really expanding my skill set.
Honestly, I love that. That's amazing, man. As you said, you started to read more books and everything of that nature. So what was that one book that you really read that you felt like was a change in your journey?
Yeah. Honestly, I think one of the main ones that really had a big impact on me was School of Greatness,
Okay.
by Lewis Howes. So School of Greatness by Lewis Howes. It was a really cool book because I saw him as this figure that was playing. He actually played sports too, so I could really relate to a lot of his story. He played sports and then got injured and ended up kind of going down this other path and getting into webinars and online business and marketing and kind of influencer and just greatness. I just love the whole aspect of just what he stands for, and just also just talking about greatness. I've always been someone that just holds myself to a high standard, and I always want to achieve greatness. So if I can learn from others that have went down a similar path, or that are going down a similar path, or that have already done something that I want to achieve, then I definitely want to, surround myself with those types of people or learn from them. So that's where really with Lewis Howes's book, that was probably one of the first stepping stones. But I have so many books that have been amazing. And I think the way that I like to say it to people is it's not about the amount of books that you read. It's about the amount of books that you read that you actually put into action from the stuff that you learn from those books. So I see people all the time saying, oh, I read, 5 or 10 books this month. That's great. Well, how much of the actual information and tips and tricks that you read in those books are you actually putting into implementation in your life or in your business? That's what matters the most to me. So I'm not about, reading as many books as possible just so I can say I read so many books. If your mind can process all that information and you're actually putting some of that into action, then good for you. That's amazing. But I know myself, I like to kind of slow things down a little bit and really focus on the books and really start putting some of those things into action. I think if you can take, 1 or 2 things from every book you read, that adds up to a lot of, a lot of change in your life or your business, and can really be, a huge, huge difference maker.
Absolutely. So I wanted to really get into, because I have a lot of young men listening right now, athletes as well, young
Yeah.
athletes in high school and college and then beginning of their college years. And they may think that just being an athlete is just that. What is some advice you would give to them, along that journey of really some steps to take to really just seeing more and being more and really doing more outside of just being an athlete?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and honestly, it's something that I can constantly think about more. And I think honestly, the biggest advice that I have is know that you can't play your sport for forever. Things can happen in a flash, especially if you're playing a physical sport. But in all honesty, it doesn't matter what sport you're playing. Most of them will have some sort of physical aspect. You could have a career-ending injury. Something could happen where, if it all was to go to nothing tomorrow, what do you have? What do you have to fall back on? Take some of those skills and take some of those relationships that you built in sport and translate that into something else. What is it that you want to do with what do you want to be known for? What do you believe in? What do you value in life? And I think one of the best things that you can do is, if you have somewhat of an idea, or even if you don't have an idea of what you want to do after sport, surround yourself with people that you want to be like. Find a mentor, find an advisor. If you want to start a business one day and you're playing college sports right now, well, you should be, connecting yourself with the entrepreneur that's 5-10 years ahead of you, that has a business, that has, the things in life that you value or you want, and you should be learning from them. You should be, providing value to them. You should be asking them and saying, hey, like, could I meet you for lunch or breakfast, once a month, and, just sit and chat. And, I'd love to, learn how you became who you are. Just being friendly and building that bond and that relationship, I think, is really, really powerful. So that's something that I would say. And I'm someone, just to provide context on that, I'm someone that in life, I don't regret anything I've done. I don't like to live with regrets. So I like to just do things. So the way that I like to tell people is, you don't know unless you ask, right? So if you see someone ahead of you, or you see someone doing something that you're really curious about, or you just don't know how they're doing what they're doing, well, ask them. You never know. The worst that someone can say is no. So, try not to be so hesitant. And especially if you're a student, you're an athlete, it's best to start now and start today than start, in 2 years or 5 years and 10 years, right? That's the only thing that I kind of look back on. And I'm like, oh, wow, I wasted so much time. I didn't necessarily waste it. I, had some amazing experiences and some great times with some great people that I'll always cherish forever. But there's times when I look back and I'm like, oh, wow, if I would have, started reading books earlier, or, hey, if I would have started my website sooner, or, hey, if I would have started selling my services, quicker, easier, I would have been so much farther ahead than I am right now. Right. So it's like, surround yourself with the types of people that you want to be like, or that are at places in their life, or their career that you want to be. And try to start as early as you can. It doesn't mean that you have to know what you want to do, because as athletes, we always think that we're just going to be in our sport forever, right? But start looking beyond that. Start opening up your eyes a little bit and thinking, what do you want to do with your life? And I think we live in one of the greatest times,
Mm,
in the world, where we can really turn our passions into amazing lives and into
mm,
amazing businesses, right? So I think there's a ton of potential out there, to really capitalize on that for athletes.
mm. I love that, man. That's awesome. As you spoke of, just really surrounding yourself, finding those right people, getting in the right room, getting in the room with the right people, and everything. And most importantly, every mentor has a mentor, right? So, who would you
Mhm.
say along your journey and along the process of becoming who you are? Who would you say the most influential you? You know, like you see, you get it,
Mhm.
influence you
Yeah.
person that you've had along your journey, man. That's really helped you apply some real principles into your life to guiding you to be the leader you are today?
I think really there's two people, and one of them is honestly, my business partner at Influencive, so our founder CEO. So I know, this is something that I did, early on. Is so I worked with a few different startups and tech companies, and a few of them actually today are very, very successful. One of them sold for a lot of money. Another one raised a whole lot more money than when I was with the company, and so they're both, success stories. It was amazing to work with them at such early stages. And then Influencive came, and at the time when Influencive came around, Brian, is a very successful entrepreneur himself. He's been a successful entrepreneur for over 15, 20 years now.
Mm,
I knew when Influencive, when there was that opportunity that presented itself, I knew that by building that bigger relationship, by providing value, by aligning myself in those same areas as Brian and really just learning from him, I knew there was going to be a ton that I could learn from him. And he's really helped shape a lot of my mindset around business and helped me in different areas. And that's where we've really been able to make a great team, because I've been able to help him in different areas as well, and provide some aspect on things that he didn't have before. So that's where it's really translated into obviously a really great friendship and a really great partnership in business. But he's definitely someone that, I call a friend, I call a mentor, I call a business partner, I call it all, because that's really what he is, to me. So I'd really probably credit a lot of things over the last 3-4 years, definitely with learning from people like Brian, and other people that I've been able to meet or surround myself with over the last few years.
indeed. That's most important too, is learning from those at a place that you desire to get to. So
Totally.
I love that you touched on that as well. And shout out to Brian as well.
Hmm.
But I love that you mentioned relationships. And I heard you say that quite a few times so far during this interview. What is it
Hmm.
like to build a real genuine relationship, outside in personal and business? Clint, if you can go through that.
I think so many people in this world, whether it's in business or whether it's personally, we're so selfish, and people are always thinking of themselves. They're always thinking of, what can I get out of it? What is it good for me? And I think one of the greatest things that you can do as a person is you can enter a relationship by being valuable. If someone sees that you're a valuable person, or you're doing something that can help them, or you're doing something that can push them in the right direction, or whatever it is, to live a healthier life, to grow their business, to help their business in some area that they're lacking, or whatever it is, you're going to be someone that's memorable. They're going to remember you, right? And relationships are so huge. So I've always been a very value driven person. And I think it's all about providing value and being someone that is valuable, to other people. Because if you're an a valuable person, it's really, really great to, it's just a positive, it creates a positive atmosphere, right? And I think when it comes to relationships, I'm so big in relationships, because in life we we're surrounded by people all the time. Well, we should be, and it's important for us to be surrounded by other people, and learn from them or help them. And I think in life, obviously you've heard it lots of times before, but your net worth is your network. So if you can build really genuine connections with people, you can really, see the value in them and they can see the value in you, it's a give and take relationship. It can go really, really far in life. So that's what I think is really good with, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a, a friendship, whether it's a business. I think it's really, really important to really have that give and take dynamic, and just be value driven.
Mm, mm. I love that, man. Honestly, because you're right. Most people, they are afraid to like just step out that comfort zone, and
Mm-hmm.
really connect with some real good people, because you
Mm-hmm.
just never know somebody until you really sit down and have that conversation. And something
For
I
sure.
really go by is one conversation can change the communication. So I'm glad you was able to go through. So people that's listening from the Inspire Before We Expire, please take in and implement and build relationships, people, personal
Mm-hmm.
and outside and professional as well. Clint, I want to dive into Influencive, man. I want to
Mm-hmm.
dive into it. Where did the name first establish, man? And what was the process like of really building your company,
Influencive was, it was started, Brian bought the domain several years ago, wasn't doing anything with it. It honestly started as a personal blog. He was a successful entrepreneur. He was kind of scared of writing. And he really wanted to get on all these other platforms, and didn't really, have, I guess, the writing background to kind of get in these. They were all these other platforms were hiring like journalists and communications majors and stuff. So he really wanted to kind of just create his own thing. So he created Influencive, and started just writing on it himself. And then he reached out to his immediate network asking for if there was any other writers that wanted to contribute to the platform. And I was one of the first few writers that started writing. And after I wrote 2 articles, I saw how fast everything was growing. I saw the potential in the brand. Obviously, loved the name, loved everything that we were standing for. And at that time, it was just Brian. And I knew that there's areas that I could bring to the team. So that's when him and I partnered together and have been, 2 of the main driving forces behind it today in our army of writers and people that, our community that supports us and shares and comments on articles and all that. But it's been a roller coaster, just like every business, right? It has its ups and downs. The way that, Brian will always say it is, he's a 15-year overnight success. Things don't happen overnight. They don't happen right away. I'm someone that's been in business for 10 years and I don't, see myself, I haven't even touched even close to the potential that I want to get to. And I haven't impacted half as much people as I want to either. There's so much more still to do, and there's so much more that we can carry and capture and really do for others and really just provide to people. But no, it just really started as kind of a passion project, started as a blog, and then just really kind of turned into a really big media company that has a community of millions of people around the world.
man? And what do you feel like, as you spoke of ups and downs, because that's what I like to dive into, to just help
Yeah.
our younger listeners learn more about the process. So what do you feel like that one event that may occur, man, that just really turned everything around along this process of building Influencive with Brian and
Mhm.
everything like that? Like, if you can really dive deep into that, Clint, I really appreciate that. Show us my listeners.
Yeah, honestly, there's always tons of different things that come up. Whether it's, there's issues on your website, and then you have to figure it out, and something goes down, or you're there's tons of articles you got to write, and there's other articles you got to edit, and we didn't have a content team, we didn't have enough revenue to do it, so we were doing it, and it's really just kind of comes down to in business, the longer I'm in it, the more that I realize that there's going to be a ton of ups and downs. It's just I'm more seasoned now. I'm more experienced, that I know it's inevitable that these things are going to happen. It's just how you deal with them and how you move on to the next thing. And that's one of the greatest things I've learned from Brian and other mentors that I have in my life is not getting derailed by the negative things, or the tough times, whether it's someone asking for a refund from your services or your product, or someone trying to belittle you, or whatever it is, right? It's not taking those to heart and really letting them define you. It's what are you going to do after that? What is that going to force you to do? How are you going to do things differently? How are you going to be better next time? How can you learn from this and apply it to, the future and really move on? And I think that's what I've really learned through this whole entire process of, just being in business is things are going to happen, whether they're good, whether they're bad, whether they're awesome, whether they're not so good. And it's all about I learned this from sports, is really I like to keep an even keel. I don't like to get really, really excited where I just lose focus of, where I want to go and what I'm trying to do. But then if something really bad happens, I don't want to get too down on myself, where I feel defeated, where I can't go on anymore. I like to stay in the middle. I like to keep that even keel. And I think that's really important, aspect to have as an entrepreneur, because like I said, it's a roller coaster. You won't hear any other entrepreneur, successful business owner in the world say that they haven't went through their ups and downs. It's the ones that don't give up. It's the ones that continue to go on the ride that, continue to be that success story one day. So if you're going through a tough time right now, just don't let it be don't let it be the defining point in your life or in your business. Find a way to get through it, find a way to move on, find a way to, do that next thing or to learn from it and, apply your next product, your next service, or whatever it may be. But it's just really about keeping that even keel and not getting too excited or getting too low.
And how do we grow from the experience, and how do we become more consistent?
How do you become more consistent, did you say?
Yes.
In all honesty, I think it just has to do with persistence. I think it's a mindset thing. How do you become more consistent? It's, keeping schedules. If you, want to be successful in whatever it is that you want to do, it doesn't matter if you want to be a professional athlete one day, whether you want to be a doctor, whether you want to be a business owner. It's about that mindset of, I can do it and I'm going to do whatever I can to make it happen. And whoever has the most persistence is always the one that ends up on top. And when I say that is, you're going to hear these, I hear these stories all the time about, professional hockey players, and the best ones in the world is, they were 8 or 9 or 10-year-old kids that were out at 6 o'clock in the morning, shooting pucks for, 30 minutes or 60 minutes a day before they had to go to school. And then people look at them, when they're 18, 19, 20 and the best players on the ice, and they're like, how are these kids this good? Or how are they're so good? And well, in the end, they put in more time. They put in more practice. They've brushed up on their skills. You'll hear that from doctors, the best doctors, or, the best surgeons, the best whatever, people out there, is they put in their time. They go to school for 10, 15 years. There's a reason for them, to be so good. They have to be so good. They put in the experience, they paid their dues, to get them to where they are today. And I think, that persistence issue is something that I feel, is a real problem in today's society, is because so many people choose to give up. So many people can't endure pain. So many people cannot go through a struggle. They think that they go through one struggle and they think that's the end of them. And then, I got to go on to something else. And that's it. But the ones that, don't take that, that take no for an answer, and really find a way to push through, are the ones that end up on top, or the ones that, end up being those success stories. And people always ask, how did you become a success? It's the people that didn't give up. It's the people that continue to push through. So I think that's, one of the most important things is if you want to be consistent, is you gotta keep pushing through. You gotta keep finding a way to make it happen. And the people that find a way to make it happen are the ones that, end up on top.
Powerful. I love it. I wanted to take some time, Clint, which I do each and every interview, man, just to show some gratitude, man, towards you for devoting time to be on the show today. Honestly, man, bringing it from our conversation before going on air to now, man. I know so many people going to receive so much value from this, from being an athlete to being a successful entrepreneur, but also knowing that you went through rock bottom, you hit rock bottom various times and things of that nature. So I really wanted to take some time to thank you, man, today for really being here as we continue the show, man, honestly.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I, you continue to hear that from people. Like I've said, is it doesn't matter if it's, the top athletes, it's top celebrities, that whether they're actors or actresses or, the top entrepreneurs of our time, when you can really understand their stories and understand kind of what they went through. And, I forget some of the stories, but like there's some professional, like top actors in Hollywood that, were waiting tables until they were 40.
Hmm.
And it was 41 when they got their big break and became this big movie star. And now they're like Tom Hanks or something, right? And it's like, there's a lot of those stories that happen. But if you think about it, they were 41. Most people right now, if you're listening to this and you're 40, you're like, oh, I'm too old, I can't start a business, or oh, I'm too old, I can't do this. Or hey, you're making an excuse because you can't do something. Those people didn't give up. Those people continued to push through. They still, worked that job. They still went to those auditions. They still, had that burning desire inside of them that, they knew that they had something to give. They really knew that they deserved something in life, and they weren't going to take no for an answer. And they kept working through it. And, they're a huge, massive success story today. So that's what I really want people to get out of this is, if you're not willing to endure pain,
Hmm.
you are going to have a hard time being successful, because in order to be successful one day, you're going to have to go through pain. There's going to be times that are going to be very, very tough. And the ones that can endure pain and can go through the hard times are the ones that, really do end up being success stories one day.
So true. I love that, man. And I love that you say you have to endure pain, because the pain is never permanent, it's only temporary. And we have to
Exactly.
learn that sometimes that pain turns into our purpose.
Totally.
It allowed us to become more persistent, right? As you said, I love that
Mm-hmm.
word, man, persistent, because it shows no matter what you go through to never give up, people. Like Clint said, he made a great example is it don't matter if you're 40 or 50, man, it's never too late.
No, never too late.
It's never too late to really start over and really do what
Yep.
you desire to do to get to where you need to get to, but be more passionate about it. Do it with a passion, not do it at all. So I thank you, man.
Exactly.
And now, man, just building this successful brand, this business, man, traveling the world, speaking at events and things of that nature, man. What are you like really, really most proud of, man, while really just, in this space that you're in today, man, and knowing that you still have a lot more work to do? Like, what are you mostly proud of?
I'm proud of with what we've built at Influencive. We've really been a value driven company from a very beginning stages, and we still are today. We're never going to be we're never going to be like a lot of other old traditional media companies that are making the reader's experience for their readers, terrible, where there's millions of ads popping up because they're just more focused on the almighty dollar when they're not even really caring about, the millions of people that are coming to their site to spend their time on their site,
Mm.
to read their materials or interact with their materials. So we've always think unconventionally, and being different than others. And we will really want to be conscious of our readers, of our fans, of our followers around the world, and we always want to make sure that they can rely on us to be a top resource to come to for information around business, around entrepreneurship. Learning from success stories and stories of failures from top entrepreneurs and top celebrities and influencers and people that we have in our direct network. It makes me proud to have my name alongside Influencive and seeing what we've built, because I feel really good about it. And I've quit projects in the past that I've kind of been an advisor or worked in other capacities with, because I came to the realization that it wasn't what I loved. It wasn't what I felt super, super passionate about. I didn't feel, it wasn't an industry that I loved, but I love the industry that we are in, whether it's, whether you classify it as, online entrepreneurship or, digital marketing or online media or whatever it is. I think we live in such an amazing time today, where you can build a business and you can have team members from around the world. I'm in Canada, Brian's in LA. We've built this completely remote. I see Brian a few times a year. But there's no excuses for anyone listening to this saying, oh, there's limitations, or, we all have computers in our pockets. We all have phones. Phones are our number one thing. There's no excuses as to saying, I can't connect with so-and-so, or I have to only do business in Philadelphia, right? You don't have to just do business in Philadelphia. You live there, sure, but there's things called social media that you can go on and interact with people all over the world. You can get access to anybody through your phone or through a computer. You can go to a public library and use their computer to start, a business. Like there's no excuses. It's really, what are you going to endure to get to where you want to get to, right? And that's where it comes back to that pain aspect. It's sometimes not going to be super easy. It's not going to be super convenient to, if you don't have a computer, or you don't have this phone, or you don't have this, but there's a lot of different alternatives, and there's a lot of options that you can do and you can use, right? So
That's powerful, man. I love that. Honestly, you're right, because that's the power of social media, the power of connecting, the power of humanity and what we bring to a community, and not always what people bring to us.
Exactly.
So I wanted to ask, because I know you did many stories, man, and I love to just dive into that as well, is what was those top 3 that you really, really just intrigued you most? The connection was there, and you just knew this was like, man, this is something that you sometimes look at throughout the days out your week, and you like, man, this story here was just so powerful and just impacted so many people. Just those, the very top 3 that you would say.
So you mean like of like articles that like I've
Yeah.
written on different people and that I've met? Well, one that I did this year, which was really awesome. It was really genuine. Was Tony Hawk.
Okay.
So I met Tony Hawk and sat down with him for about 15, 20 minutes and just chatted with him and asked him a couple simple questions. And I published that article up on our site on Influencive. And that was something that was really powerful because I grew up, obviously being a video gamer. I played the video games of Tony Hawk, like what kid didn't? And it was cool to be able to sit down with someone like that who was very humble, that was very, quiet. You could just sense it from him. Just chatting with him for, even if it was only 5 minutes, you could just tell that he was someone that was super, super talented in his field. And it was never about the fortune. It was never about the fame. It was, that stuff just came with it. And ultimately he still skateboards today. He's, 40 or 50 years old, and he still skateboards today, and he's still amazing and all that stuff. So it was really cool to just kind of get his aspects on business and entrepreneurship. He's focused more on like business, and he has a foundation and stuff now. So that was a really cool one. Another one that I've done, which was obviously pretty cool, was to just learn a little bit more, was Jordan Belfort, so the real Wolf of Wall Street. So I did an article on him a few years ago as well, and got some kind of sales insights from him, because obviously what person hasn't watched the movie Wolf of Wall Street. So that was another cool one. And then I'd probably say the other one was I did an interview with one of the CEOs of one of the Virgin companies that Richard Branson owns. So he's actually basically business partners with Richard Branson. And he is like a Hollywood producer and director. Well, he was, and now he's kind of more focused on Virgin festivals and events that they're running. Because they run some really, really massive, huge, successful events around the world. And just hearing their stories. And this is what I like to say is like, oh, it's cool. Like, yeah, like I named off, 3 huge, massive, celebrity, personal, public figures, people that are out there. But they all went through struggles, at one point. Like it's not like they were gifted everything in life. It wasn't like they just, their family all had it. It was, no, for the most part, most successful people didn't have what they have today. And that's why they wanted to work, day and night, for their whole life to get what they wanted, is because they didn't experience that. Right. And that's where I get my hustle and where I get my drive is I want to provide for my family. I want to give my boys experiences that I never had. I want to give them things that I never was able to endure, you know, in my early years, or that I never experienced. Like that's what drives me, is I want them to have things that I never had. And I think that's just kind of how parenting goes, is when you do become a parent, you want to provide for your family, but you also want to provide things that you didn't have for them. So I think those probably were three that were you know, pretty cool to people to meet.
Amazing. Shout out to all three of them, man, as well. And it's great that you got to connect with them guys too, man. Because you know we
Mm-hmm.
see them on TV, we see them from afar, but to be up close and actually get to know the real them, it's just it's a bitter feel, like a bittersweet feel, like it's a priceless
Totally.
feel, you know. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, hey, Clint, if you can just get the people just the website, then they can go ahead and go to Influencive and look at the stories, the articles, get the feel of your company and everything like that. That'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, definitely. We'll make sure that the website's influencive.com, influencive.com. And yeah, would love to just stay in touch with anybody. I'll also share a link with Terrell here, with the show, that we'll link in, that you can visit, you know, if you want to get any more information or you want to stay connected. But it's been really awesome being on the show with you today.
Absolutely, man. We're not finished just yet, but
Oh,
I wanted to dive into fatherhood, man. You
okay.
know, I think that's a big part too of your journey and of your tremendous growth and the
Hmm.
success that you have today. So, man, you got two twins, man.
I do.
It's beautiful,
Yeah, that's
beautiful,
awesome.
man.
Yeah, it's a dream come true.
Yeah, man. So if you could just dive in the importance of really being a father now, man,
Yeah.
and stuff like that, man, to young fathers out there as well who just trying to just not balance, but just really stay on track and stay focused, man, because
Hmm.
they trying to focus on other things while also being a father. That'd be valuable, brother.
Yeah. Honestly, I think so. I'm someone that I don't really believe in like work-life balance type stuff, because I think it's just life, right? I think you choose to what you want to focus on in life, and what's important to you and what you value. So I've always wanted kids. No word of a lie. I've basically manifested twin boys from a very young age. I've wanted twin boys my entire life. Reason being is growing up, you know, I watched some of my brothers play sports, and they'd play against twins on hockey and stuff. And I just thought in my head, like, that would be so cool to, you know, have twin boys one day, because then I could have them on the same sports team, or they're playing on the same line, or whatever it is, right? Like, that would just be super cool and special. So this is something that my wife knew even before we even knew that we were having twins. And you know, past girlfriend, whatever it is, like this has been something that, you know, my entire life I've always wanted. So it's a dream come true. So it's not, I think when it comes to parenting, I think parents have a different mindset, whether you want a kid and your person ends up pregnant, or whether you're, you know, someone that actually, you know, so that let me break this down. So I think you're different as a parent, whether you like want kids and you're planning to have kids, or whether you somehow become a father, become a dad, become a mom, whatever, and it's kind of like a huge surprise. So it was a huge surprise, obviously, to have twins, and it's huge to carry, and there's a lot of different things to figure out. But I have a different mindset of a parent, because I've wanted twins and I've wanted that, and I know I'm ready for it and all that stuff, versus someone that, oh my gosh, I'm a dad now. What am I going to do? I don't know anything, or whatever. Just so everyone knows, I never read a book. I never did nothing. I'm just someone that just figures it out. I've always wanted to be a dad. It's just who I am. It's in my nature to do that, and it's obviously a huge blessing, and I love it. And it's a part of my day. I love being with my boys. I love being with my family, and hanging out with them, or you know, spending quality time, or doing cool things with them, or just playing with the boys is fun. Yeah, it's obviously not easy all the time. Yeah, there's stressful days and tough times, and a lot of different things you need to figure out when things happen. But I love it. It's something that's just a part of my life, and I'm thankful for it, and appreciative for it, because if there was someone that was gifted with twin boys that could handle it, I think it was me and my wife.
Mm.
We make a great team,
Mm.
and we both enjoy it, and I know that it's going to be a lot of fun raising twins, and just kind of continuing to see them grow, and see how they interact with the world, and yeah, it's a lot of fun being a dad.
Indeed, indeed. And shout out to Rachel as well, your lovely wife. You guys are a great team, man. I see it from afar and just know that you guys are traveling the world with the young ones, man. I be seeing you guys just
Mm-hmm.
posting on the mountains and beautiful
Yeah.
places, just, and it's like you guys don't even make you guys social media about you no more. It's about the little ones. And that's
Mm-hmm.
when you know you're really still growing. You're really still making tremendous transformation. You're still developing into a better you, because it's not about you no more. It's just about these little ones too. And
Yeah.
becoming a family and a team, like you say, I think that's important. So those that's listening right now, man, please take in and take notes if you are a parent or so like that, because it's always good to really stay and do together,
Totally.
I wanted to ask Clint, what is something you teaching the boys right now that you want them to inherit when they get older? Like something you guys are really going through with them day by day, so when they get older, they can really being able to apply this to their life.
Honestly, I think one of the things that I hope our boys are, just because the fact that there's two of them, and they have a best friend for life, really is a huge, awesome thing to have as a parent. Is I really want our kids to really be good around other people, and I want them to be gentle, kind, amazing people, that other I want them to interact with other kids and other adults, in a genuine way and in a good way. Um, because in all honesty, it's not just one of them. There's always two of them, and I think that's really gonna hopefully help them with when they're in a crowd of 10 other kids.
Mm.
They're gonna know how to interact with them. They're gonna know how to talk to them. When they're in big crowds of people, I want them to really just be able to be, I'm not saying like arrogant or anything like that, but I just want them to be able to handle those situations. So I really want them to be just good kids, good people. And honestly, I think at 14 months old, there's not a whole lot you can teach your kids. It's just really, as the days kind of go by and new things happen, where you just kind of deal with it. But yeah, there'll definitely be, a lot of things as they get older that we'll want to teach them and kind of fill them in on. But definitely, I think I just want them to be good people, and they can choose, what they want to do in life, or the path that they want to take. But as long as they're good people and they're respectful and they're nice and they're kind, those are the most important aspects, I think, as a parent, that I want for my kids.
I love that, man. That's beautiful, man. Well said. What's the two little ones' names, man? If you don't mind
Uh,
sharing.
Emerson and Oakley.
Okay. Unique,
Yeah.
unique and dope.
Yeah,
Shout
we wanted them to be unique, but not like too far out there. Not like, yeah. I knew they weren't going to just be like a Matthew or whatever, like just a common name. I obviously don't really have a common name either with Clinton. Like I barely know Clintons. Um, but yeah, it's pretty intense when you actually have to name other humans that you bring into the world. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thinking that goes into it, because as a parent, you're thinking, oh, like, what's going to be a nickname, for them? What could be a nickname? Or, I hope there's no like funny word that they're going to be called when, in school, or, it can't be a name that kids are going to pick on them with. Right. So like, these are actually things that you think about as a parent. So yeah.
Indeed. I also seen on your page, man, you wrote a letter to your little ones too. So I thought that was beautiful, man. I read it myself. So people,
Nice.
when you go on his website, you can also see that he wrote a letter to his boys last year, right before they came into this world or so.
Yeah,
Um,
we can link that to the article, or we can link that to the interview or whatever too, if you think, if that would be, to everyone listening, if you think that'll be, something that you want to dive a little bit deeper into. But yeah, I thought it would be something special to kind of do and different, because it's something that will always, live on forever. So
mm,
yeah, no, I hope, I'm excited for when they read it one day, and whenever they learn how to read, I guess.
yeah. Indeed. Nah, that's beautiful, Clint. Clint, I wanted to ask, man, I know you touched on so much today. I just want to give you some room to share something that you haven't got to share in an interview or just in general on any event, just something with the people, man. I'm just going to let you have the space for just a minute or two or so and just share something, man, with the people, something powerful they can take in and remember 10 years from now.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think the most important thing is if you want to be somewhere in life, or you want to start a business, you need to go surround yourself with people that have businesses. You need to go surround yourself with people that are in places that you want to be, right? If you want to, be a good mom one day or be a good dad, then go surround yourself with other dads. Go surround yourself with other moms, right? Like, I think there are no excuses to not surround yourself with the right types of people nowadays. And I think as you get older, as you get more mature in life, the circle gets smaller, but it gets more important. And that's what really I do is I don't, there aren't like, I've changed a lot of different types of friends. I have some, that I've had my entire life. But I also have had to make some tough decisions, in my life where I noticed there were friends that I was friends with for a very long time that were not interested in the same things as me, that didn't make me feel good when I, talked to them. And, they're complaining about money and they're complaining about bills. And well, that didn't make me want to strive for more. That didn't make me want to, reach the heights that I want to reach because I have high standards for myself. It didn't create that environment for me to want to be better. It didn't create that environment for me to, want to strive for more, right? It just made me kind of have that complacent kind of like, whatever, like this is good, or my life is fine, even though it could be better, but it's like so. So I think the most important thing, is you need to surround yourself with people that make you feel good about yourself, that respect you as a person, but also are doing things that you want to do, or you want to learn from them, or you respect them in some shapes or forms, and that's where when it comes down to it, it's your choice. Your time is your choice. So if you want to be somewhere in life, sometimes you need to get rid of people, or doesn't necessarily mean like, hey, like you're not my friend anymore, but it also means like, hey, you're not going to hang out with so and so as often as maybe you do right now, because they're not putting you in the right headspace, or they're not pushing you in the right direction to get you to where you want to be, right? So your time is your energy, and I think you need to surround it with the right types of people. And sometimes the decisions are not easy, so just take that in consideration, of where you are in your life right now and where you want to be, and I think that should help you, get you to the finish line, or at least push you in the right direction.
So true. My last question for the day, man.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for diving into that. I think also you got to remove yourself from those who no longer serve you no more. Honestly,
Totally.
man, energy is everything. So I thank you for really diving
100%.
on that.
100%.
So when it's all said and done, what do mostly Clinton Senkow want to be remembered for?
Honestly, I want to be remembered as someone that, inspired other people, that, showed that you can do things that people didn't even know were possible. I want I wanted people to see, that life really doesn't have any limits unless you set limits for yourself. I've always been someone that continues to have crazy opportunities and really cool things that happen, or cool trips, or all these crazy things that have happened. But, have I been 3 months late on paying a power bill? 100% I have. Have I lived through those tough times? 100% I have. It's not like it's come easy. It's just because I'm staying the course. I know that I haven't, got to where I want to be in life, and I'm not going to stop until I get there. So keep that in mind, when you're listening to this, or when you're getting out there in the real world, is we all go through our struggles. Everyone's going through something, usually whether it's now, or whether it's in the past, or whether it's going to happen in the future. It's just what you choose to do with that. Are you going to use that as fuel, or are you going to use that as an excuse? And I'm someone that I've turned, I don't like complaining. And I want to turn those excuses into fuel. I want to turn those bad times into fuel to get me to where I need to be.
Powerful. When you get a moment, I say when you get a moment, but now you could just share your social media, your website, and everything
Yeah.
else.
Perfect.
Yeah, you could just share it again with the people, just your social media, your website, and
Oh,
everything. Yeah.
gotcha. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, a website is influencive.com, or my personal website is clintonsenko.com as well. And yeah, you can just follow me on anything on social media, whatever works best for you. But I'm Clinton Senko everywhere. So what? Yeah, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, you go, you pick what you like the most. But yeah, I'll also make sure that I include a link in this interview with Terrell to share with everyone listening today. To just to stay in touch, and to if there's anything that I can help you with or provide value, I'd love to connect with the listeners more, and see if there's anything I can help you with.
My man, Clint, I really enjoyed you today, man. Thank you so much for taking time away from, business, from the family at this moment, man, and devoting time to be on Inspire Before We Expire. Our listeners, so we surely appreciate you guys. If you've been tuned in today, ladies and gentlemen, go ahead and go on iTunes right now. Go on to Inspire Before We Expire and leave us a review. Tell us, please, what really stood out to you mostly from this interview with Mr. Clinton Senkow. And also, what you like to learn more. You can reach out to him, message him. Like you say, it's all about being a service and being valuable, in a community, in a place. So I thank you guys for taking time out to listen, take notes, implement it to your life, and take action, most importantly. Because we all start from beginnings, and in the humble beginnings allow to, new opportunities, new doors to be open, and things of that nature. So this is the Inspire Before We Expire, people. That's my guy, Mr. Clinton Senkow. I'm Terrell Sumter. This is the Inspire Before We Expire community, and we're out. Woo! My man.